I'm going to be talking through today is the control room role on the second boss, Pfizer. So first of all, let's just talk about the build. So we use a healer build. So the healer build I've got here is the 4-piece Future Initiative using the chest and backpack, 1-piece Alp Summit with repair skills and skill haste, and the BTSU gloves. All the Future Initiative pieces have max repair skills on them, and also repair skill mods. The reason for this is that you will be keeping yourself alive more than anybody else whilst you're in the control room throughout the majority of this phase, using the Restore Hive here and also the Fixer Drone. These two are the best two to go for. The Fixer Drone has a long duration, and the Restore Hive is generally the go-to for a healer build. Now, if you are struggling to get the chest or backpack, which are Iron Horse exclusive drops, then you can go for an Alps chest piece or an Alps backpack. The other build that I sometimes uses an Alps chest piece with kinetic momentum, which is this one here. I have got hazard protection on it just to get that a little bit of protection from Pfizer's burn damage whilst you're in the heat of the control room. But again, I've got the repair skills and repair skill mods on it. The reason I've gone for kinetic momentum on it is because, as you can see there, the stacks increase your total skill damage, which is irrelevant at this point, but your skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill, lost when on cooldown, so just keep that in mind. First thing I always do before going up into the control room when I'm running this role is to check the water pressures. So these symbols here will indicate a number which will be somewhere either 10, 15 or 25. There's 2 there. Two here on C. And there's 3 of them on A. I will just show you those before I go up into the control room. One, 2 and 3. The easiest way I've found to get to the number that you're after is to have 3 lots of 25 and 1 15. And I'll explain a bit more about water pressure as we go through this demonstration. So now up in the control room, the majority of the time is going to be spent between these 6 screens here and these 3 levers here and this center console. Towards the end of the raid, we go over to that water pressure valve there. That's when we start to ask for the water, but I'll touch on that in just a moment. So to start off the phase, you have to let your tank guy in. We typically use A or C on the ones that we do. Not so much B until the DPS phase on the boss, which is where we do use B. But I'll let the tank in A just by pressing and holding square on this lever. He'll come into A. And what he'll do is read a code out. The code is just below me here on this wall. You obviously can't see it from here. But when you go down there and look up towards this window here, you'll look back and there'll be a rolling code that will come up on the screen. That code we then have to match to this screen up here. There is a photo on our Discord which tells you which each letter that is called out corresponds to. But just for your information, it will be, I still have to refer to it because even though I've done it so many times, I still never remember. So we have Foxtrot is top left, Papa top middle, Charlie top right, Romeo bottom left, Mike bottom middle, and numbers bottom right. So what the tank will see down on that scrolling bar just below this window here is one of those letters. And obviously if there's no letters, it's just numbers. Then he'll call out numbers, and then there's numbers on the screen there. On these screens, a code will appear, and that code will show some of these symbols. So just for an example, It may be a white cup, so we call that a white cup, that a black cup, that a broken cup. So it might be a white cup on a belt. That code then corresponds to the monitors downstairs on the DPS roles who are checking monitors for that symbol. And once they found that symbol, they will shoot the corresponding red box. What that will do is start to fill up the crucible with lava. And after the first one's done, we wait for the next code. And again, match it to the screen. So whatever letter's called out, match the letter to the screen, call out the code, and the guys downstairs will look for that on the monitors. And again, shoot the corresponding red box. So the tank usually stays in there for the first 3 symbols. And the reason for that is because when he gets to the third symbol, he starts to get a little bit hot because you have Pfizer chasing him around with a flamethrower. But also shortly after this time period, Pfizer will look to explode, put it that way. So he'll run just in front of the cannon at the back there. He'll stand on that little yellow mark there, he'll turn around, a little circle will charge up above his head, and what he does is explode, and that will wipe out anybody that's in that room. So what typically happens, we stay in the first 3 codes, tank then goes out of A, Pfizer will go to blow up around this time. The tank will pick up the rocket that's in A. I'll come on to the rockets in just a moment. I'll let him back in. He'll give me another code. So I come back out here, read out the next code. And what I'll do is let him straight out of C then. The reason for that is because there'll be a rocket in C and a rocket on A. So the DPS guys will be dropping the rockets in there from the ads that are spawning. At some point, an alarm will go off, which means we need to fire rockets. What we do with firing the rockets is let the tank in, whichever side he is in, whether it's A or C with the 2 rockets, and he'll fire rockets at this cannon. If that's done successfully, the alarm will stop and the cannon will not shoot up into this control room where I am here. If that happens, it is a wipe and you start this phase again. So if you ever hear sirens, the most important thing at that time is the rockets. So I keep letting the tank in A and C and moving around in there whilst he's calling out some symbols until this gets to 100%. At 100%, we can then move on to this control panel here and we start to move the crucible along towards the cannon at the end, because ultimately what happens at the end is that we pour lava that's in the crucible onto the cannon at the end and make it go into a sort of meltdown effect. What I did forget, when this number reaches 75, some clans, some discords, whatever you want to call them, will call it at 50, but when that number is at 75, I call for the guys that are upstairs. So there'll be 2 guys upstairs, one out here looking after that door and one out the other side looking after that door there. So at 75%, I say, guys, 75%, go downstairs. They will go downstairs and help out with the ads. The guy who's upstairs on this side will then turn into the weak point shooter. So what will happen there is that he'll go downstairs, he'll be helping out with ads on C, but when I call for it, he'll be coming into C and shooting the weak points along this crane gantry. So as I'm trying to move the crucible forward, it will get blocked 3 times. We can see here where the black and yellow hazard marking is. 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. So the DPS, I'll have to open up C, let him in. He'll shoot the weak points from within the airlock, doesn't need to go into the oven. Just from the airlock we'll shoot out the weak points, so then I can move the crucible forward. And we rinse and repeat that until we get the crucible all the way forward, so we can tilt the lava onto the cannon. During this time, obviously we're being mindful of Pfizer exploding, and we're also listening out for the siren to do the rockets, and the tank will be floating around A and C so he can collect those rockets up. During this whole phase, at some point, Pfizer is going to break this glass, which means we need to put down or get out our skills to keep us alive. I always go with the revival high first, just bang it somewhere in the middle there, because then it gives me a good enough coverage if I'm over this side doing the screens here, and a good enough coverage if I'm right over on C opening the door for him there. I'll leave that going, keeping me alive, keep my armour stocked up, because it does get quite hot in here. When it gets to about somewhere between 5 and 10 stims left, I will then pop out my fixer drone. When my hive gets down to around about 3 or 4 stims left, I will break my hive. The reason I do that is to give us overcharge, so obviously it helps my fixer drone whilst the hive charges back up, but also it recovers anybody's hives, reviver hives, if they've used them up until this point. When that reaches to the 30, provided my fixer drone is still keeping me alive, let it reach as high as it can, which I believe is 36. Then on 36, I'll just pop it back down again. At this point, if I wanted to, or if my drone was starting to run low, you want to destroy your drone as soon as you pop down your hive on 36, because it can take a little bit of time to cool down. So it ensures that there's no period of time where we're not covered, because that's when we will die up here. Now, looking after yourself does become a bit of a background role. You're more focused on the tank, visor, the rockets, the monitors, the DPSer, this screen here, and the levers over there. So once we've successfully got through all those phases, and we've got to the point where we poured the lava onto the cannon at the end there, that's when we move on to the water phase. Now, before I go on to the water phase, what I like to do is wait for a rocket phase, just so we don't get caught out whilst trying to do it, because I don't like wiping. So what we'll do, once I've poured the lava onto the cannon, I'll be like, guys, just wait for another rocket before we do the water. Wait for the next rocket phase. Once the tank has successfully fired the 2 rockets, let him back out of whichever side he's on, and let him cool down. Once he's then cooled down, he'll go back into the airlock. Then I'm like, guys, prepare for water, be ready to send the water, but don't send it yet. So he'll go into the airlock, let the tank in first. He has to be in there when we send the water, so let the tank in first. As soon as he's come in the door, say A for example, as soon as he's come in that A door, let go of square, say, guys, send the water now, send the water now. Everybody sends the water and you'll see this number will shoot up. As we can see here, 80 to 85. So if you've got 3 lots of 25, that's 75. Then a 15, it takes you to 90, but that rapidly starts to drop. So by the time they've actually sent the 3 lots of 25 and a 15, this will be flipped. This will be able to be flicked over. So again, pressing square on this, we'll flick the lever over to the right hand side. By that point, the tank should be on one of the water cannons, which is just down there or down there, whichever side he came in. Once I flick that lever over from the left to the right, water becomes available and he'll start firing water at the cannon at the end there, which will solidify the lava, as you can see it has done now. Once that is successfully done and solidified, call everybody into the B airlock, all DBSs into the B airlock, and you'll be able to see the names appear up just below the floor here, as you can see. So names will start to appear there inside the B airlock. At this point, the tank's going to come down from one of these platforms, and whichever he's closer to, let him out of A or C, and he'll make his way around to B into the airlock with everybody else, because whilst he's doing that, he can then cool down. When he goes into B, he can go back into the forge during the DPS phase, just to keep Pfizer's eye, so people in the airlock aren't getting hit with incendiary grenades or the flamethrower or anything like that. So I open up B, hold B open, everybody's in B, holding that open for DPS, and they just continuously hit the boss Pfizer until he effectively dies. At that point, when he's dead, all the airlocks will open up. Let go of square there. The guys downstairs will turn around and start taking out the ads. See, the ads will be spawning whilst they're in B, shooting Pfizer. Once they turn round, come downstairs as the healer, pop out your hive down here. Get most people just to stick around this area until you've been able to heal them all up, and then they can start to go ad chasing a little bit. What you may notice when you come out of the control room at the end and come downstairs, you may even see a chunga up here or an ad or two. Just run straight past them. Have your little fixer drone on at the time. Run straight past them because your fixer drone can keep you healed up. The most important thing is for you to get down here and chuck your hive out for everybody else. Once the ads are complete and killed, that will be the end of this boss. And that is the control room role on Pfizer on Operation Ironheart. Thank you.